to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and we've arrived to week 2 of the NFL season, and the New Orleans Saints, who are currently 1-0, will take on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, who are also 1-0 after two impressive wins by both teams this past opening Sunday of the NFL season. Let me start off the show by saying I hope and pray that everybody in the New Orleans area, in the southeastern Louisiana area, are doing fine after dealing with Hurricane Francine this past week. It was a fast-moving storm, not as powerful of a storm as Katrina, of course, not even an Ida, but it was a storm nonetheless, and we still had some damage around the area, and there are some people that are still without power around the area. Thank God we didn't lose power at my house, and I'm thankful for that, because I don't know if I could have went through another storm like we went through with Ida. When it was weeks, it felt like I can't even remember how long it was, but it felt like months that we didn't have power. But thankfully, we didn't have that issue here. It wasn't much wind damage. There was a lot of water. I know at my mother's house, water got up. I want to say halfway up her driveway, and she has a raised house, and so good thing it was raised, and because it would have went in the house otherwise. So good thing for that. But the next day, the water receded and everything was fine and good. But a lot of people weren't so lucky around the neighborhood who doesn't have raised houses. So keep them in your thoughts when you're thinking about how fortunate you are. There are some people who weren't so fortunate. As far as I know, I don't think there was any casualties from the storm. At least I didn't see any on the news as of late. But I've been working so much. I haven't sat down and watched the news, to be honest with you. So, my job requires me to be on standby, to be there for the storm. So I was in the thick of it. Wasn't out in the storm per se, but removing debris out of the roadway and stuff like that. That was the gig. But all was well and good. Just wanted to shout everybody out. Hope everybody's doing fine. Hope you got your power back on. Hope you didn't have much damage to your property and whatnot. And so you can concentrate this Sunday by sitting down and watching the Saints take on the Cowgirls, because this is a, should I say heated rivalry? Is it a heated rivalry, or is it just simple camaraderie? As far as I can remember, as long as I've been watching football, been cheering for the Saints, there's always been this hatred for the Cowboys. We always had this like unwritten, unofficial rivalry with the Cowboys for some strange reason. And these are two teams that have never shared the same division. And I can understand if it's the same division, like Atlanta and Carolina and Tampa, even back in the day when we were in the NFC West, and we was in the same division as the 49ers. I get that. I get those rivalries, but Cowboys, we didn't play them that often like that. But whenever we did link up, it was a hoodinger, Going back to the Jim Mora days, Bobby Hebert and the Dome Patrol defense, we had some battles with that team, and this was even going into the Super Bowl era when they had Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith, and just a team full of Hall of Famers, and Jimmy Johnson as the coach, and they were going to win Super Bowls and stuff. We were still putting up a heck of a fight against the Dallas Cowboys. And then recently, in the past 20, 25 years, the Saints really been getting the best of the Cowboys, and I've been enjoying it. Been enjoying it so much. I think the first Thursday night game we ever played, Thursday Thanksgiving game that we ever played was against the Cowboys. I'm thinking. I do remember us playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving one time, and it was a game. We end up winning that game. So, there's a lot of story history there. But this Sunday, we are going up against this team who, like every year, to start the year, a team that everybody picked to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know why this is a every year thing with the Cowboys, and every year they're disappointed. But that's neither here nor there. We have Dak Prescott fresh off of his extension, getting that $232 million guaranteed. Wow, for Dak Prescott, who can't win a playoff game. But he got his money. God bless him. CeeDee Lamb got his extension, which I understand that. And you have Michael Parsons there, who I think this offseason he'll be looking for his payday too. And he is worth every penny, whatever they're going to give him. They're probably going to lowball him at the end of the day, but he is a beast. And we have the Saints. The Saints, just this past week, defeated the Carolina Panthers by the score of 47-10 in the Superdome. And what I would say the most impressive win under Dennis Allen's leadership as the head coach. This was leaps and bounds his best coaching job. You know what I'm saying? But the question mark is, can we bring it on the road, in particularly to Dallas against a really good team? Yeah, we did what we did against the Carolina Panthers, but can we do this against a playoff quality team? I'm not convinced of that much, but I am convinced that the Saints have a chance to win this game. Now, I knew all week you was going to hear it. Who did you play? The Saints didn't play anybody. It was just Carolina. Carolina don't have nothing over there. All that's true. All those are facts. But the Saints, at the end of the day, the Saints did what they were supposed to do against a team like that. It's not the fact that they pummeled this poor team into the ground, which a lot of analysts and me included feel is the worst team in football. But you were supposed to make the worst team in football look like the worst team in football. That's the growth. Last year we struggled against this exact same team, and so we have improved in that sense, and that's encouraging. That's very encouraging. Now, this will start a 2-game stretch against an NFC East opponent. This week we take on Dallas. Next week we take on the Philadelphia Eagles. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Sunday's opening win was filled with just a bunch of strong performances up and down the roster. Whether it was veterans or newcomers, everybody looked good Sundays. The Saints got off. I mean, at halftime it was 30-0. Well, it was 30-3 at halftime. And the defense, the special teams, and this shiny new coat of paint offense looked phenomenal. The team, this was their highest scoring output in a season opener, and I don't know how long. I don't think they ever scored this much in a season opener. And speaking of season openers, it stretches their winning streak as far as season opening games. Saints have won 9 straight, or is it 6? Yeah, 6 straight season opening games. The 9 straight was the 9 straight possessions that they scored on in this Carolina game. It was a phenomenal performance. The defense only gave up 193 yards total. They forced 3 turnovers. There's nothing to argue about. There's nothing really to nitpick about in this game. Yeah, there were some things. It wasn't a perfect game. There were some things in this game that you can tweak, but it's the first game of the season, so I kind of looked past and chalked it up to jitters, it being the first game of the year. And so, yeah, now when you start seeing these little faux pas popping up in week 3, 4, 5, that's when it's time to be a little concerned. And so it's like, man, what's going on here? Because there was some blown coverages. The reason we didn't get to see it or Carolina took advantage of it is because A is Carolina and B, poor Bryce Young was running for his life the entire game. And so I do want to see a little tweaking on in that secondary, and we do have some secondary news to talk about a little later on, which is kind of upsetting, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And I would say the most impressive, even though he wasn't the MVP last week, this was an impressive output. His best performance as a New Orleans Saint, it was Derek Carr. And I got to keep saying that because when he does bad, I rag on him forever. So I got to keep that same energy when he does good. He did great on last Sunday. He was 19 of 23. He had a completion percentage of 82.6, people. 82.6. He had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. More importantly, 0 interceptions. He had a passer rating of 142.5. He looked phenomenal. This was the Derek Carr that everybody hoped they got. Actually, I don't think we were hoping to get this great of a Derek Carr. Just close, managed the game because he basically managed the game. He didn't do anything phenomenal. That touchdown pass to Shadeed was amazing, but it wasn't like he was slinging it down the field 50 times. Like I said, he only dropped back 23 times. But it was great game management, great game plan going into this game. The Saints defense with several returning stalwarts mixed with some newcomers, it served as a strong complement to Carr in the offense. And that's what you want. That's what got us that Super Bowl in 2009. And that's what had us relevant for about 5 years after that. It was the defense complementing the offense. When the offense was clicking, the defense, it was just lights out. Last Sunday was no exception. The Panthers only managed 58 yards on the ground. 58 yards of rushing in an entire game. That's all they got on 20 carries. They carried the ball 20 times and only managed to get 58 yards. To break that down, to put it in perspective, that's 2.9 yards per carry. They did absolutely nothing on the ground, and this was reminiscent to when the Saints were just beasts of a run defense. You remember it was a streak that was going on for years. I can't remember exactly how long this streak lasted, but for the longest time, the Saints did not allow a 100-yard rusher for like 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer than that. But it was phenomenal to believe. And during this stretch, they were going up against some premier backs. It weren't like they were going up against me. They were going up against some premier running backs, and they shut them down. That's not to say that the rest of the defense was all right, but yeah, the Saints were great against the run, and this was a real good throwback to this defense. As far as the Dallas Cowboys, just this past week, the Cowboys defeated the Cleveland Browns by the score of 33-17. I think these were the only 2 games, these being the Saints' victory over Carolina and Dallas over the Browns, where they had a lopsided victory like this, where it was really a butt kicking. Every other game was pretty close, fairly close. These 2, they wiped the floor. Now, as far as the most impressive out of the 2, I would say, and this is because of the level of opponent, I would say Dallas, because Cleveland got all the pieces to be a really good team. They have Deshaun Watson. They have, Nick Chubbs, he's hurt. I don't know when he's coming back. But they got a lot of pieces. You got Myles Garrett on defense. They have a lot of young pieces. And for some strange reason, they just can't get it together. And Deshaun Watson looked horrible in that game. But I would say Dallas did what they did against stiffer competition. I'll give them that. And so, with that being said, I mean, Dallas defense did sack Deshaun Watson 6 times in that game. I mean, they got after him. And Deshaun Watson isn't a statue. Deshaun Watson can move in the pocket. He didn't move at all. The only movement he had was upright to the ground with this defense led by Michael Parsons and DeMarcus, not Russell, not him, DeMarcus Lawrence. They had 3 sacks between the two of them. Eric Kendricks, he had 2 sacks and an interception in his first game at Dallas. So it's not like the Saints are going up against some scrubs here. Let's not forget Dallas defensive coordinator is Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is a phenomenal defensive coordinator and pretty good head coach when he was in Minnesota. But he never could, just get to that promised land as the head coach. But he is a really good defensive-minded coach, and he has that defense flying around. I mean, I saw Michael Parsons all over, and that's scary. That's scary, especially to our offensive line, which held up phenomenally in this past week's game against the Carolina Panthers. But Carolina's front four isn't Dallas front four. So the real test is going to be this upcoming week. Let's go through the stats so far this season, and there's only 1 week to break down. So basically last week's stats, beginning with the passing yardage for the New Orleans Saints, the leading passer was, wait for it, yes, Derek Carr. I said his stats earlier, 19 for 23, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. For the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, he was 19 for 32, 179 yards and 1 touchdown. Leading rusher for the New Orleans Saints was Alvin Kamara, 18 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. For the Dallas Cowboys, no, you're not in a time machine. It is Ezekiel Elliott. He had 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. Receiving yards, Rashid Shaheed, 3 catches, 73 yards and a touchdown. For the Dallas Cowboys, it was CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches for 61 yards. Let's go over our injury report. And this is as late as Friday. So it is subject to change over the weekend or before the game starts on Sunday at noon. But for the New Orleans Saints, the one big name that flashes in front of my face that, to be 100% honest with you, got me in my feelings is, of course, Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback. He is questionable for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. I'm reading questionable, but I also heard a report where he has been ruled out for Sunday's game. So I'm not looking to see him Sunday. And I saw the play when he pulled up, when he pulled up and grabbed the back of his hamstring. And I love Marshawn Lattimore. I think he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league when he's healthy. I mean, pure shutdown corner. He's the closest to a shutdown corner you're going to get in this league. It's starting to become a thing. Well, not really starting. It is a thing. It's a thing. He stays hurt. He has not played 16 straight games, I think, since his defensive rookie of the year. And it's becoming an issue. Now, the Saints have some nice young talent back there in that secondary. Paulson Adebo, Alante Taylor, Kool-Aid is back there. And you have the Honey Badger. You have, oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? The other safety. I think he caught an interception last week. I'm blanking on it. I'm pretty sure you all know. But it's not the end of the world that Marshawn Lattimore won't be out there, possibly. But I still would like to have him out there. I want to be at full strength. I mean, it's week 2, and let's not fool ourselves. I know it's only the second week of this very early season, but this is a big game, and not for bragging rights so much. Even though one of my real good friends is a Cowboys fan, and I want to rub it in his face. Matter of fact, we're watching the game together this Sunday, and so I want to be able to rub it in his face. But that's not the reason this game is so big. This game is big because it does have playoff implications moving forward. Because when we get to the end of the year and they start breaking down your NFC losses, your playoff positioning and things of that nature, we're gonna look at this game. And just like last year when that Green Bay game came back to haunt us. That Green Bay game is what cost us the playoffs last year. And that was like week 3, week 4, somewhere up in there. And nobody felt that was okay. We lost. No big deal. We still got plenty of games to play. But look what happened, And so games like this, we can't afford to lose. And now, is it... will they be officially eliminated from playoff contention if they lose this game? No, of course not. But you want to have this in your back pocket. You want to have a game like this in your back pocket. And so that's why I'm like, man, I wish we were 100% healthy. Along with Marshawn Lattimore, we have 2 players who have been ruled out for Sunday's game. Kalen Saunders, our defensive tackle, and the D'Amico Jackson linebacker. They have been ruled out. Other 2 players that pop up on the injury report are questionable. That's Isaac Forsky, defensive end, and Brian Bresee, defensive tackle. I'm not too much. I don't really care about Isaac Forsky. I don't think that's gonna hurt us. But Brian Bresee had a really good game Sunday. Actually, he's been all right since he got here. I'm a fan of him, but I would love to have him there too. I need this defense at full strength. Let's just put it plainly. For the Dallas Cowboys, they really don't have too many people out. At least nobody's, that's gonna leap out and you'd be like, oh man, they're in trouble. They have a tight end that has been ruled out. John Stevens Jr. Doubtful. Jack Ferguson, tight end. So 2 tight ends will not be playing this Sunday for the Dallas Cowboys. They, I don't know how significant they are as far as their offensive game plans. And so maybe that hurts them. Maybe not. We'll see. Another fun fact and something that's kind of going against our New Orleans Saints this week. The Cowboys are on a 16-game home winning streak. They haven't lost at home in Jerry World at AT&T Stadium. In 2 years. So, it's not looking too good if you go by that number. But the Saints are pretty good on the road. At least they have been pretty good on the road the last couple of years. So, once again, something to be encouraged about. ESPN did their little matchup predictor, and they have the Cowboys with a 60.8% chance of winning this game. Saints have a 38.8% chance of winning this game. I had chose in my, breakdown of the season and predictions that this was a game the Saints were going to lose. And that was before I saw last Sunday's offense and how it worked. Now, I still think the Saints might lose this game. To be honest with you, I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm kind of like, heads or tails. It's a coin flip for me, to be honest with you, because on paper, the Dallas Cowboys, talent-wise, the Dallas Cowboys are a better team on paper. I can admit that. They do have a better quarterback. Saints have a better running back. The Cowboys have a better offensive line. Cowboys have a better receiver. They don't have a better receiving core, I believe, but they have a better receiver. If I had to put CD Lamb against each one individually, whether it's Olave or Shadeed or something like that, yeah, I will say they have the better receiver. We have a better receiving core because of the names I just mentioned. The Saints defensively, the Saints and the Cowboys defensively, their line, I gotta, I gotta give it to the Cowboys due to the fact you have Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is the closest thing you're gonna get to Lawrence Taylor in this day and age. I don't see anybody else. I mean, that dude is phenomenal. This dude can cover. He can rush. He stopped the run. He does it all and does it all very well. That's just him. We ain't even talking about DeMarcus Lawrence and what's the other guy? I forgot his name. Pretty sure I'm gonna know it Sunday, unfortunately. But defensive line wise, I think they got the advantage. Linebacker wise, I think the Saints have a slight edge, or it's dead even. The Saints, Demario Davis is probably one of the best linebackers in the league, and I'm not being biased here. He is one of the best in the league. And Pete Warner is he's getting better and better every year. Secondary wise, this is a tough one. I had a back and forth conversation with my Cowboys friend, and he he swears up and down that they have the better secondary. Because he has 2 Pro Bowlers on his in his secondary. Okay, I can understand that, but I'm looking at overall, whether it's corner or safeties. I think the Saints have the edge there. Saints are better. And Diggs, what's his name? What's his first name? Whatever. He is good. He is really good, but it's feast or famine with him. Either he's going to intercept it, or he's going to either he catches a pick six, or he's going to give up 6. It's feast or famine with him. More often than not, he's going to get you. Especially if you keep picking on him, he's going to get you. Really good. But flip it for the Saints, we just have solid players. Not too many ball hogs in our secondary, but they're solid. And I'll give the edge there. But I don't know. Being in Dallas, it's tough. This is a tough one to pick. Like I said, my early prediction had Dallas. My heart, of course, is saying Saints, but my head is saying the Cowboys. But I have to choose one. But I think I'm gonna go with the Cowboys this time around. But I think it's gonna be a good game. It may come down to the wire. It may be a 1 possession game. I'm thinking like 27-24 or something crazy like that. It's not going to be like we saw last week with these double-digit victories from either one of these teams. Even if the Saints pull it out, it's not going to be a double-digit win. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. I want the Saints to win. But logically, I just can't do it. I can't pick them. I am encouraged by what I saw last week. Very encouraged. They looked really, really good. And that's why I was fighting this, That's why I'm like, man, should I pick the Saints? But I don't want to jump out the window just yet. I need to see consistency from this team. Hopefully, it will carry over into this week, but we shall see. I would love to know your predictions for the Saints taking on the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday, 12 noon on Fox in Dallas. Who do you think is going to win? Will it be the Saints? Will it be the Cowboys? I would love to know your predictions. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, the sharing the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this preview of the Saints versus the Cowboys this Sunday, 12 noon on Fox. Can't wait to speak to you after the game. Man, I hope it's a good game. That's my only prayer. I'm not even worried about the wins or loss. I just want it to be a good game, please. Give me keep me encouraged. You know what I'm saying? Show me that we have a good team going forward, that we're actually going to make some noise going forward, no matter what the outcome of this particular game is. Don't forget to check me out after the game as we recap the Saints versus the Cowboys. Hopefully, I'll come on and say I was dead wrong in my prediction, and I would gladly do so against the Cowgirls. Until then, I'm going to be screaming, "Who dat?"